So we got the engines flipped upside down again. We want to go ahead and just take the balance shaft, the oil pump assembly off of our other donor engine here, because we know that the turbo was replaced 20,000 miles ago, which means the oil pump and everything was also changed. You can see it has white adhesive for the oil pan, so we know it's been taken off. Plus we checked with the repair order. Ours obviously doesn't look bad. It could be that, you never know about that shaft on the oil pump. Sometimes it slips, but they basically say if the turbo goes bad, then replace this. So instead of taking this apart, doing that, we're just going to go ahead and switch the whole assembly. That way we know everything is fresh. So we got our new bolts. These are stretch bolts, so we have our torque specs here, and then we have our adhesive along with our new bag of bolts for the oil pan, because those are also stretch bolts. So we're going to go ahead and get it buttoned down and get the oil pan on there and get it sealed up, and then we'll be ready for next steps. All right, so we got the engine off of the engine stand. We're working on, we buttoned everything up. We got our new serpentine belt on. We got everything, all the hoses, the coolant, intercooler, pipe, everything. So now we're working on this. We're going to go ahead and just put a pilot bearing in there. So we don't really have the right tool, but we found that if we use this little guy, one of our little 3-arm puller slide hammer here, then we can get it off there. Hang on to that. Just put a little counter pressure to keep it in the hole. And I think that'll do it. Go ahead. Come on. All right. Success. We had already pulled out all the needle bearings out of it, obviously, first. So we'll put that in, and then we can go ahead and get our flywheel on. We got our new flywheel bolts. Those are the single-use ones, so we'll get those going. And then we can get our transmission, get that bolted back up, starter, everything. Maybe we'll hit it with the pressure washer, clean it up a little bit before we mount it. And then we'll be ready to stuff this bad boy back in. Transmission is on. Everything's hooked up. We got our new starter in. Everything's torqued down. I think we're ready to stuff this bad boy into the car. Remember to hook up the heater core lines. Remember to plug in your little sensor here and guide your downpipe into the exhaust. Outside of that, yeah, I think we got everything on here that we need. Let's get it in. Okay, so engine's in, bolts are tight. We haven't torqued them down yet, but we're gonna go ahead and lower the hoist. And we're supported there. Gonna unhook. Okay, that's good. All right, pull this out. Get this out of here. All right. All right, now it's a matter of hooking everything back up. That's gonna be fun. So these are the new bolts for you. I got these from Lowe's. They're M5 by 80 by 12 long. So you can use those after you cut, after we did our little cut, remove those ones. Then these are your replacements. So it's just a 3mm Allen. Kind of tough to reach in there. Cable's in the way. Then once you get it started, no problem. Now you'll be able to remove this. If you ever need to unplug it for any reason, you can just remove it easily. There you go, it's that easy. So we got everything hooked up, all the essential stuff hooked up. We just went ahead, since we have everything apart, we want to just go ahead and get oil pressure before we even turn on the key and try to start. We don't have to mess around with disabling the fuel pump and all that stuff. We can just bypass everything, throw the battery in, and get some oil pressure. So spin it around a few times. Big difference, no more clunking, knocking. So sounding good, guys. So we'll continue on putting it back together, and then make sure all of our fuel stuff is done. We'll get the fuel primed, and then exhaust hooked up, and then I think we can fire it up just to do a quick test run. Let it run for 5-10 seconds, shut it off, and then get all the rest of the front end on, the coolant, radiator, coolant, all that good stuff. So still working. All right, so we primed the system with the VADCOM with the cable VCDS. So our fuel is primed. We're gonna go ahead and just give it see if it fires up, and then we'll finish putting everything together. Just want to hear it crank up. So let's see what happens. Okay, here's the fuel pump. All right. Not bad, not bad. Sounds good. All right, nothing's clanking around. That's a good sign. And like I said, I think with the oil pressure that we got before, then that way we didn't get any rattle at all, so it sounded really good. All right, so we're gonna finish putting all the front back together, see if we can get it done today. All right, so I didn't want to bore you guys with all that stuff. We got everything back together, got all the front put back together, and we went ahead and took it for a spin, put some miles on it and everything's working great. So just kind of give you the recap of the cost stuff. Here's the breakdown. We bought the car, like we said in the beginning, in the first video, for $1,000. We spent $600 on the donor engine. So technically we still have some parts from it, but we're just gonna include the $600 in this total since we're out the money. We did put a new valve cover on at $320. Timing belt kit for, that's the water pump, the coolant, everything, rollers, tensioner is $400. All the miscellaneous nuts and bolts, those are for the engine mounts and stuff. They're all single-use stretch bolts, so that was about 50 bucks. We spent $100 or so in the gasket and gasket material for the oil pan and for intake manifold, exhaust manifold, the oil filter housing, all that good stuff. We did an oil filter change, obviously. That was like 65 bucks in parts. A new serpentine belt is 30 bucks. So we have a grand total of investment in parts at least, of $2,565. That includes the car. So we're all in a little over $2,500 for everything. So just to give you kind of an idea of what we spent. Obviously not including our time, which we worked on this in our free time over the course of several weeks. So not a bad deal. All right, guys, so as you can see, not a bad deal. A lot of work, obviously, taking the engine in and out, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we got a good, solid car that's all fresh with all kinds of new parts. So we're kind of debating on what we want to do with it, if we want to sell it or just keep it in the family. So thanks again for hanging out on the channel. Be sure to check out our other Passat TDI B7 content, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.